This is President Trump being genuine, being authentic, finding a video he thought sent an interesting message.
Let me ask you about the tone of the president's tweets.
This is really remarkable. You got incredible challenges across this nation, and that's what you want to talk about?
What you've seen is that what the media has done is to attack, to ridicule him, and to destroy him.
Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, the mastermind of 9/11, said that the mainstream media was going to help his cause by the way that they presented the information to the American people. And in my view, the majority of them are doing that exactly.
President Trump heading into another big week as he tries to pass health reform.
We're getting close. The American people know that Obamacare is failing.
I want repeal to work, and the way you do it is you separate it into two bills, and you do it concurrently. Work with us Democrats who are willing to meet you in the middle.
One of the great things about the 4th of July is pausing and remembering that America is mostly not about government. America is mostly about community.
Awesome.
We are celebrating the 4th of July, and what makes you a proud American this week? And you guys have been sitting in your photos, and we are loving them. Nick sends us in this photo of his twin granddaughters proudly waving their American flags.
And Laura sends in this picture of her family recreating the iconic raising of the flag on Iwo Jima during World War II.
That's cool.
Cool.
And Sandra sends in this photo of her massive family of Eskimo dogs displaying their stars and stripes with pride.
Wow, those are beautiful dogs.
That looks like 7 dogs.
I saw online the other day someone had cut their front lawn to look like the American flag. They put stars all over, but then, you know, you cut the lawn in nice stripes.
I wonder how long that took.
I don't know.
No, 1 mile down the road from my house on a big hill, when you drive around the corner, it's USA mowed into the side of a hill. It's pretty, with some rocks in the middle. It's super cool. It's like, this is what middle America, they're like, I love my country and I will landscape around it.
I love that. Well, our own Anna Koyman is live for us from USS North Carolina in Wilmington, North Carolina. Anna, good morning.
Good morning to you, Abby, Pete, and Clayton. Good morning to everybody at home. You guys, it is so nice to be back on Fox and Friends. It's such an honor. Thank you so much for having me. And, you know, it can be tough to work on a holiday, but it's always the best when it's a patriotic holiday, isn't it? Fox and Friends just does it the best. So we're down here in North Carolina. We're in Wilmington at the moment, just down the road from Southport, where our festivities are really getting into high gear tomorrow. So make sure you tune in all day long for that. But I want to interview our friends from the Coast Guard this morning about what makes them proud to be an American. So this is Petty Officer Roberts, and what makes you a hashtag Proud American?
Ability to help others in their time of need. I know here in North Carolina we were part of a larger response for Hurricane Matthew. Also, I've worked with others that have deployed to Haiti during the earthquake they had. And it's just to be able to go and help people whenever they're in a bad situation.
And really make a difference. Thank you for your service. And how about you, Petty Officer Carr?
You know, I think being a proud American means putting on this uniform every day, waking up for, you know, what I believe to be some of the most amazing, inspiring, you know, individuals of this country that I get to protect and serve for. So.
And thank you so much for your service. What a beautiful morning here on the USS Battleship North Carolina. A whole lot more Proud American coverage coming to you all morning long.
Awesome.
We love it. And we love having you back, Anna. Thank you so much.
Great to have you back for sure. In fact, I've actually been on the deck of the USS North Carolina. We held my old group, Concerned Veterans for America, held the Defend Freedom Tour concert on the deck of the
Now that
USS
is cool.
Beautiful.
Super cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
It is beautiful.
You know who also is in a band, by the way, who we are big fans of and we love having on the show, is former governor of Arkansas and Fox News contributor Mike Huckabee. You're one of my favorites to watch performing in that band. Not everyone knows that about you, Governor.
Well, I miss getting to play more often. I still get to play some, and some of my best moments were playing with your dad with REO's Speedwagon at the Iowa State Fair.
That was a special moment.
I see John Huntsman, Mike Huckabee Friday summer concert series.
Right.
I think we should do it. That's
Why
a
not?
great
I think we
idea.
should go there.
We'll bring it back.
Can I play the shaker?
I just want you guys to know. Well, look, Abby's dad is truly a world-class keyboard player. I'm not making that up. I mean, he played professionally for a while, and he's really, really good. He's not just, you know, some guy.
He used to have hair my length, and we look the same. We have the same hair and an earring. You wouldn't think that about my dad. He looks like such a statesman today, but you're so right, Governor. It's good
we
to
could keep talking about this.
I never had the earring, but the hair was to here. There was a time, and now I just wish I could grow it like that again.
Well, Governor, we're really glad to have you here this morning. Now, there's been a lot of noise and news made about President Trump's tweeting, and how is he focused only on tweeting? Well, he's up this morning, just sent out a tweet saying this. He said, "We'll be speaking with Germany and France this morning." And, you know, based on what you hear from the so-called mainstream media, Governor, how can he have time to actually speak to Germany and France? Because it appears to them all he does is tweet, right?
Well, actually, Donald Trump is a man who gets very little sleep. He is an incredibly capable guy that just has the stamina of 3 people half his age. I've never seen anything like it. What I find interesting is that he can tweet out something that probably he's doing for his own amusement and entertainment, and the press goes totally crazy. He sends out a very nice and positive, patriotic 4th of July message, and it's crickets from all the media. But here's the reason why. The media basically hates Donald Trump more than they love America. And so they're going to ignore the pro-America comments that he makes, and they're going to just camp out and never leave the campsite if he says something that offends them, which in many cases, they deserve it.
So here is the pro-America tweet that you're talking about. He sent this out last night about 4th of July. America's men and women in uniform is a story of freedom overcoming oppression, the strong protecting the weak, and good defeating evil, USA. So tweeted that last night. This morning, there was no coverage from the other networks on that tweet. Of course, they're all focused on him tweeting out the body slamming video, body slamming CNN. What did you make of that?
I find it interesting that, if there's a play in the park about Shakespeare and Donald Trump gets murdered on stage, that's okay. That's entertainment. But somehow pro wrestling is real. Where else but in the media would their minds go there? But I just think they're looking for a way to be offended, and they're going to find it no matter how irrational it is. And it's just wearing thin. Now, in their little bubble, this makes sense. But I'm going to tell you, I traveled all over the country. I was in Chattanooga, Tennessee yesterday. And one of the things I find is that the people of America, they don't get angry so much at Donald Trump, but they're just disgusted and worn out from the media constantly just badgering this president.
Yeah, they feel like finally someone is giving them a voice, that no one has spoken for them for years and years and years. I want to get your take on this. Former President Obama has emerged on foreign soil in Indonesia, and he's warning Americans, Governor, about the dangers of showing too much patriotism on the 4th of July. Let me read you this quote. He says, "We are seeing a rise in an aggressive kind of nationalism. We start seeing both in developed and developing countries an increased resentment about minority groups and the bad treatment of people who don't look like us or practice the same faith as us. I don't believe the future favors strong men. I believe the future favors those who promote tolerance, who are open to differences and learn from everyone." So not mentioning President Trump by name, but certainly quite a dig at the president there, Governor.
This is amazing. I mean, Obama telling us that we shouldn't really be too patriotic on the 4th of July is like telling people in church they shouldn't think about God too much when they go there. This is unbelievable. But frankly, this just reminds me of how grateful I am that we have had a new president, a new chapter where it's okay to love America. I think that we went from the whole Trump notion, make America great again, MAGA, and we've left the Obama mantra, which was make America mediocre again, or mama.
Yeah, well, look, that statement is getting coverage here, probably not much elsewhere, the criticism, veiled critique of the president. But I want to go back to the press, because why do they get to selectively determine what is metaphorical and what is literal? Is it because they think, as you referred to, that the American people are dumb? They're not smart enough to understand that a video might mean, hey, we're taking on the fraud news network, we're taking on CNN.
Well, the difference is that the American people generally understand when something is being done tongue-in-cheek, it's said as entertainment or a joke. They get it. They have a sense of humor. The press, when it comes to Donald Trump, they have no sense of humor, no perspective. They have nothing but anger, hate, and vitriol for this president and anybody associated with him. It's really one of the most amazing signs and shows of hypocrisy in certainly my lifetime.
Ted DiBiase said, everyone's got a price.
It's interesting, though, Governor, but we didn't see this outrage, though.
I didn't get it.
We didn't see this outrage.
Pro wrestling joke. Ted DiBiase? Come on.
Governor, you know what, Governor? We will let you go.
What are you going to do? What are you going to do when the president runs wild?
I know the people's elbow. I'm sure the governor does too. But
and the big boot.
Look, he already left us.
Sorry, but he's like, I'm out of this.
He's like, we're done. We're done.
Well, thank you very much.
He got it.
I think he did. over to some
Jillian is standing by.
Did Jillian get it?
I got it, but I love how you're like, I'm not getting this one. There's nowhere I can take this right now. Good morning, guys. Good morning to you at home. Happy early 4th of July. President Trump staying busy this July 4th holiday, having back-to-back phone calls with the leaders of Japan and China. The key topic of conversation, stepping up pressure against erratic North Korea dictator Kim Jong-un. The call is coming just days before the G20 summit in Germany. The president arrives there Thursday. Well, starting today, you can now get a driver's license without a gender in Oregon. It's the first state in the U.S. where residents can now check male, female, or X on the application, the X representing gender as not specified. So what does Make America Great Again sound like? Just take a listen to a church choir. The choir from the First Baptist Church in Dallas performing at the president's rally at the Kennedy Center over the weekend. The president praising them during his speech, saying their music, quote, honors our heroes more than words will ever do. And that's certainly beautiful when you hear something like that, guys.
That really was.
I know. I like it with the background and the flag.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Thank you,
Still having
Jillian.
our pro wrestling debate.
We were, yeah. You were listening to
And I'm still lost. I'm still lost in
$1
this whole thing.
million man.
We
Ted
determined that
DiBiase.
Clayton is a wrestling fan from the 80s. I'm a wrestling fan from the 90s.
You started kind of with Steve Austin era.
Yeah, Stone Cold Steve Austin, NWO.
Hulkster era. Yeah.
Rock. You know.
There we go.
Pete gave the tease.
Yeah, all right, coming up, the New York Times releasing, we talked about it a little bit yesterday, they're releasing a special edition, this year you have it right here, publishing the Constitution next to their editorial pages while taking digs at the president and not fully understanding the Constitution. Constitutional law professor Jonathan Turley says the New York Times has it all wrong. Welcome back. Well, the failing New York Times giving us their version of a civics lesson, publishing an annotated copy of the Constitution, which I'm holding in my hands here, along with a few added digs, of course, at the president. The paper claiming its readers will, quote, learn what the country's operating manual can tell us about the age of Donald Trump. Joining us now with his reaction, constitutional law professor at George Washington University, Jonathan Turley. Professor, thank you very much for joining us. So I presume you saw this inside their editorial section yesterday. What do you make of the New York Times attempt to sort of rewrite the meaning of the Constitution?
Well, look, I'm always in favor of printing excerpts of the Constitution. I prefer it to wrestling videos. But the question really is, what is it suggesting about our current situation? You know, there is a narrative that we're in a constitutional crisis. I've been very critical of this president with regard to his tweets, which I think are unpresidential and I don't think are very helpful to his administration. But when you separate the rhetoric from what the president has actually done, he actually has complied with the law. You know, when immigration orders went against him, he complied. He appealed. When the sanctuary cities cases, rulings went against him, he complied. So his history is actually staying within the navigational beacons of the Constitution. So you do have to separate in terms of what is actually happening to what has been said. That doesn't excuse what's been said. But when you look at what the New York Times has suggested in its editorial, I believe, gets way ahead of its skis in terms of where we are in this country.
Sure. It's such a great point. The difference between rhetoric and actual actions and how faithful he's been to the Constitution. In the introduction to this, to the reprinting of the Constitution in the New York Times, Gary Wills writes this. He says, and you know, it's on the front page of this section, representative of the New York Times view. For most Americans, the United States Constitution remains a distant and archaic text, a relic to be revered but rarely consulted. Do you think that's truly how most Americans feel about our Constitution?
Well, I hope it's not. You know, I'm a Madisonian scholar. In fact, he's the last president I really liked. You know, these were geniuses of their time, and they still are geniuses. They spoke not just to conditions that existed in the 18th century, but very relevantly to conditions we have today. And while the United States Constitution is not a particularly poetic document, it has one great thing to recommend it. We're still here. It's sort of the all-terrain vehicle of constitutional constitutional systems. It's gotten us through a lot, and people could do well by reading it.
As Mark Levin said yesterday, the poetic portion of our founding was the Declaration of Independence. This is in many ways the operating manual. Democrats, though, are claiming the 25th Amendment as an opportunity to deem this president mentally unfit. What do you think about their constitutionality on that?
Well, there is no evidence that I can see that would justify a 25th Amendment vote, either through a committee of Congress or through the cabinet. People, once again, are taking what the president is saying as a constitutional issue, that he is somehow incapable of being president. There's no evidence to support that. But people have to be very, very careful. We should all take a Hippocratic oath in terms of the Constitution, first and foremost, not to do harm. It will cause harm if you start to lower the standard on the 25th Amendment. I criticized the Democrats under Obama for being very short-sighted about what they were frittering away in terms of legislative authority. They should be very careful before they lay the foundation here for an easy way to remove a president.
Prudent words, very much so. Professor Jonathan Turley, thanks for your expertise. I appreciate it. All right, we bet you won't see this story anywhere else this morning. The president is saving you cash. How? I bet you wonder. We're going to bring that to you next.
Welcome back. Well, no body slamming video from the president this morning to tweet about yet. We haven't seen it yet. But he did tweet this just moments ago and tweeted about Saudi Arabia. Spoke yesterday with the king of Saudi Arabia about peace in the Middle East. Interesting things are happening.
Clayton, I have to ask, when does he have time for all these phone calls? Because he's tweeting all day long if you watch, CNN.
How does he have breakfast?
Does he have breakfast? Does he eat? Does he talk to people? Does he make phone calls?
He's going through old WWE video this morning.
All day long. He archives. He made that video,
Ted DiBiase video. Well, we want to get the take of
Dakota Meyer. So far it seems this morning, Dakota, he's been focused on foreign policy, and as the boys have been talking about, how is it that he can multitask? How can he tweet but also make these phone calls and also work on his agenda? How is that possible?
I mean, look, it goes back to what he talks about, right? Fake news. I mean, they're making it up. I mean, I don't think that anything that this president does will ever be right. I mean, I think that President Trump could come out and cure cancer, and the media would turn around and would beat him down over that. I mean, I don't think that anything that he does is ever going to be right. I mean, they would rather see him fail than to help him succeed and better our country.
Absolutely. Well, Dakota, as a Medal of Honor recipient, you understand all things our military and veterans. And one of the big accomplishments of this White House is the passage of the VA Accountability and Whistleblower Protection Act. You watch any other network, you're seeing this much coverage, a tiny bit of coverage about it. Yet, if under a Clinton administration, this would not have been a focus. So how much does it mean to you as a veteran as we approach this 4th of July that this president is focused on vets issues and actually making some changes at the VA?
I mean, absolutely, it's huge. I mean, it's incredible what he's doing. I mean, it's something that's needed to happen for a long time. I mean, the VA's been out there running with no accountability. I mean, look, in the backyard of Senator McCain, I mean, he wouldn't even hold them accountable when people are dying down there. And it's like, they have to get something like this passed, and it's incredible. It's finally a time that the VA is going to be held accountable on what they're doing. I mean, there are some great VAs out there, but there are a lot of people inside that organization that are part of the bureaucracy, and they're more worried about their job and how to keep their job instead of taking care of veterans.
We had a new poll that we were talking about here the other day, a YouGov poll that came out, was looking at, on this 4th of July, it's looking at the patriotism of Americans, and they zeroed in on millennials specifically. And they found, Dakota, that 35% of millennials say they are not very patriotic or not patriotic at all. 30% say they weren't patriotic at all. What do you make of this? And I think we kind of already knew this, but why the disconnect? Is it maybe their lack of connection to history? Where do you think this comes from?
I mean, I think it just shows you absolutely what the left's doing is working. This is why I think that it's time that our president is doing things that he's doing. He's standing up against them. I mean, the left has spent the last 10 years taking God and the Pledge of Allegiance out of our schools. So why would you expect anything different?
Yeah. What do you think the president has done when we talk about patriotism, when we talk about the military? You're doing so many things for our military. What has he done differently in the time he's been in office? Where would we be otherwise right now when it comes to our veterans?
Well, I mean, let's start off with him putting people in control of our military. You're talking about our military. I mean, he's put people in charge that know what they're doing. I mean, he's put people in charge who. I mean, you put General Mattis up there, and I'm telling you, you've got a man in there who's not worried about where he's going to go or what his next job is. You've got a man up there who's worried about what's in the best interest of our service members, and I think that's one of the start things that he's done to help our military and give us a boost in confidence. Morale's gone up with that man in charge.
It's a great point. You can't dismiss how significant real leadership is in the Oval Office as well as atop the DoD. Dakota Meyer, Medal of Honor recipient. Have a great 4th of July with your family. Really appreciate you joining.
Thanks for being with us.
You too. Thank you all so much.
You got it. All right, coming up, Bernie Sanders' wife is under federal investigation. But this morning, he says it's not her fault, it's the Republicans.
And we're cooking up the most patriotic barbecue you've ever seen.
Ever?
Ever. You guys, thank you so much.
I'm great. How are you?
Now, don't put down your shaker.
Okay, I got it.
I wanted to know what this was.
Well, it's a shaker. You got it right. You nailed it. It is.
Here it is.
Join
So
the
we
band,
were
please.
debating a little.
That's the official shaker.
What are you guys doing for the 4th of July? Where are you
4th of July. We actually have to go home right after this because we've got a parade down there in Monument. So that's why that explains why I have the shaker, actually, because normally we've got a full setup. I play pedal steel guitar. We've got drums and stuff, and I got demoted to shaker because I couldn't play anything else. So
don't knock the shaker.
Don't knock the shaker. So we didn't bring the truck out with all the gear because it's got to be there for the 4th. We couldn't get it back in time. So we came out and did the acoustic thing instead, which is awesome in a different way.
So,
and then we'll
sound great.
Wild Blue Country is
Yes.
the name of the band. You guys
correct.
are fabulous. Tell us how you came together and then where people can find your music, because I want to download it. I want to listen to it.
Sure. Yeah. Well, you speak of that. Actually, we've given some of these out. I couldn't quite get a whole lot of them here, but an album we just recorded of all Jamie. Jamie's a songwriter from Nashville, and he's written for Luke Bryan and Trace Atkins and some other people. And we just tracked this album last year in Nashville at Ocean Way Studios. It's all original songs by him. If anybody wants it, they could actually download it from cdbaby.com. If you just type in Air Force Academy Band, it'll take you to all the CDs we have there, and they're all free. So you can get that stuff.
Are people always surprised? I was expecting a marching band, and then you guys showed up.
It's common. Yeah, we actually are part of the Air Force Academy Band has 60 members, and we've got 9 different groups. We're one of the 9 different groups, and we're also part of the marching band and some other different groups too. But those 60 people make up 9 different groups that go out and do this stuff like this.
Wonderful. Well, we've loved having you this morning. You're going to stick with us for the rest of the show.
We're going to toss it up to Jillian. Can you shake us up to Jillian?
I'll just shake it.
Take it away, Jillian.
They are so good, right? Are you guys enjoying this on this Monday? Good morning to you. A plane packed with people bursts into flames moments after touching down. Take a look.
Just had to evacuate. We landed in Denver. Holy
Terrified passengers running off the United Express jet as fire pours out of an engine. None of the 63 people on board the plane from Aspen to Denver are hurt. The cause of the fire is still unknown, but the pilot had reported engine trouble shortly before landing. Bernie Sanders now suggesting Republicans are to blame for an FBI investigation into his wife.
In the middle of my presidential campaign, the vice chairman of the Vermont Republican Party, who happened to be Donald Trump's campaign manager, raised this issue and initiated this investigation. I think what you're looking at is something the Republican National Committee is very excited about. This is pathetic, and that's the way politics is in America today.
The FBI is reportedly looking into the circumstances surrounding a loan Jane Sanders took out for a land deal while serving as the president of a now-defunct college in Vermont. President Trump delivering yet another campaign promise to shrink the government, and he's saving taxpayers money in the process. According to Forbes magazine, Americans could save as much as $22 million from the White House's leaner payroll over the next 4 years. The Trump administration employing 100 fewer staff members than former President Barack Obama. Return to sender Elizabeth Warren's Indian-born challenger for Senate, making a dig by sending her a DNA ancestry test. VA Shiva Ayyadurai posting the images to Twitter to prove it, writing, quote, "I'm deeply saddened Senator Warren refused my thoughtful, gift-wrapped birthday gift, the 23andMe DNA test kit. Most unfortunate, #fake Indian." The move, a response to Warren's past claims of being an American Indian, which have since been unfounded. That's a look at your headlines this morning. Let's go back